Live in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. We're live from our Mumu Singapore office. I'm your host, Olivia Higgins. But while we wait for a few more people to join us, here's a video just for you. Enjoy. Welcome back, everyone, especially those who just joined us this afternoon. You're with me, Olivia Higgins, for yet another live show. I hope everyone's doing great. And thank you to everyone who just joined us. Now, before we begin, I'd like to remind you that today is all about education, okay? So do not take anything as financial advice. We're here to learn together, to network, and more importantly, to really get some key takeaways that you can get from today's topic. And at this juncture, I would like to remind you also that we're going to do a points giveaway for those of you who are tuning in right now so that we can reward you with some points. If you ask a question, you get points. If your question gets picked by me, you will get more points. So it's all about engaging today, okay? And being a part of the show. Now let's hop right into it. Today's topic, why invest in Thailand's market? Now, as we mentioned before, it's really about guiding you to invest towards a smarter future so that you can take charge for yourself. So today with me, you certainly know him, CEO and founder of Beansprout, Gerald Wong, everyone. Hi, Gerald.
Hi, Olivia. Hello.
Hi, happy Thursday. Now, Gerald, for those who are new to you, tell us about yourself and today's topic about Thailand's market.
Okay, so my name is Gerald. I'm the founder and CEO of Beansprout. And really, what we want to do is to help you make better financial decisions. So I guess that is really the idea of today's webinar, as what Olivia has shared earlier. A few weeks ago, we were discussing the Thai market, what are the opportunities that were presented from the economic recovery. There have been various developments in the market over the past few weeks. So as an educated investor, we just want to make sure that we are kept abreast of some of these developments so that we can plan our next month move.
Of course. And we did a part one of this Thai series previously on 1st of June this year. Now, if those of you want to take a look at that and also the key pointers that Gerald shared, you can always go and tune in the replay section of in-app or on our YouTube channels. But really, we covered the part one. So how has the landscape changed since then for Thailand and its market?
Yeah, so I think if you look at when we did the first webinar, that was in early June. Since then, we have seen quite a number of political developments in Thailand. and that has really been moving the market very significantly. So that is really what I wanted to share today in terms of where we are now in terms of the political landscape and what does it actually mean for the economy, as well as more importantly for us as investors, how do we think about the Thailand stock market going forward?
Absolutely. And looking forward to your insights, Gerald. So at this point, anyone who just joined in, you're here for why you should invest in Thailand's market. Remember, while Gerald is presenting his insights, do ask your questions because I'll be keeping track of the questions to ask him towards the second half of the show. The floor is yours, Gerald.
Okay, so if I can just pull up the slides to have my sharing around the Thai market. Okay, what we actually start with is that if we were to look at how the Thai market has actually developed, first and foremost, we can do a quick recap around how that has actually panned out over the past few months. Okay, so I think firstly, it is important to note that the Thai market hasn't actually done very well. And this might be actually something that a lot of investors have questions towards. And it is definitely one of the commonly asked questions that we have had over the past few months. Okay, because since the last time we presented, naturally a lot of investors were asking, oh, how come the Thai market has actually been falling since then? And that is what we see actually on slide number 6 in terms of how has the Thai stock market performed. For a lot of investors who might be familiar with, say, the Singapore market, what we see is that as of 31st July, actually the SDR is up by 4%. For many of you who might be investing in the S&P 500 or NASDAQ through Momo, what we have seen for this US markets would be an even more significant gain of between 20% and 37%. Even if we were to look at the Hang Seng Index, where there have been concerns about the performance of the Chinese economy, it was still up as of 31st July 2023. But if you look at the Thai market, which is represented here by the SET index, then it was actually down in the first 7 months of this year. So this is a question that many people actually have as to why are we seeing such a weak performance of the Thai market. If we then go to the next slide, what we see here on slide 7 is that actually after the strong recovery in the first quarter of this year, we have started to see a bit of the slowdown in the Thai GDP growth to about 1.8% in the second quarter of this year, from 2.6% in the first quarter. You're wondering, oh, why is that the case? We have seen a continued reopening of the Thai economy. Tourism continues to rebound very strongly. Why has the growth actually slowed down? And that is really what we show here on slide number 8, the next slide. After a very strong rebound in the consumer sentiment, in July, what we have actually experienced is a slight dip in the consumer sentiment. And this is really driven by the uncertainty that has come about because of political developments in Thailand. So if we were having this discussion in June, the entire picture will be very rosy because of the improvement in consumer sentiment, which actually reached a 3-year high in June. But that actually came down in July because people were not sure what is going to happen in terms of the formation of the government, as well as who is going to be the next leader in Thailand after the elections. Okay, so that was really what dragged the market down. And if we were to look at slide number 9, the good news here is that the Thai government has finally been formed. So it's a very timely webinar that we have today because just 1 or 2 weeks ago, what we saw is that the Thai Prime Minister was elected. Together with that, we saw the formation of the new Thai government, and that actually led to greater clarity around what is going to happen over the next few years. So what we see here is that the PewThai political party has actually taken the lead in forming this coalition made up of 11 different parties. And with that, the Thai government has been formed. So very good news for the Thai political development because of the greater certainty coming through from the election of the Thai Prime Minister, as well as the formation of the government. And with that, if we were to go to slide number 10, the currency has actually been reflecting this in that if we were to look at the Thai baht, it's actually recovered versus the US dollar after the appointment of the Thai Prime Minister, as well as the election, as well as the formation of the government. So clear signs that investors are now having more confidence around the Thai economy, which is being reflected in terms of the strength of the Thai baht over the past 2 weeks. So if we were to look at what is going to change going forward, we can get some signs based on what the Thai Prime Minister has actually said during the election campaigning period. And we have summarized some of these points here on the next slide. In terms of some of the key policies that have been raised during the election campaigning, there's a target to grow the Thai economy by about 5% per year. And a big part of it is going to be coming through from boosting incomes as well as domestic consumption. So if I am actually a Thai citizen, some of the election promises that have been actually laid out, a lot of it actually relates to raising wages, relates to raising incomes. What we see here is that there are talks about raising the daily minimum wage to about 600 Thai baht by 2027. There are talks about increasing the monthly household income to at least 20,000 Thai baht. And for those who are graduating with a bachelor's degree, to potentially raise the starting salary to 25,000 Thai baht by 2027. Apart from these moves that are intended to boost incomes, we also see various initiatives suggested to be able to boost consumption. So one of the ideas is to have a one-time giveaway of 10,000 Thai baht to Thais who are 16 years and above. And this will be done through a digital wallet. And the Thai citizens would then have to spend this handout within 4 kilometers of their residence over the next 6 months. So very driven towards driving domestic consumption. And the last area where there's been a lot of incentives would be around the tourism sector, which is a big part of the Thai economy. So what has been discussed here would be whether there can be moves to relax the visa restrictions for Chinese and Indian tourists. And if that were to happen, we might actually see quite a significant boost to the Thai economy. So in a nutshell, that has really been what has happened to the Thai political situation. If you haven't been catching up with the news, I hope over the last few slides, I've been able to do a quick recap around what has happened over the past 2 months. Okay, so I guess one of the questions that you might have thereafter would be, okay, so this has happened to the economy. This is what has happened to the Thai political scene. And what are some of the things to look out for in terms of the new government being formed? The natural question is, how does that actually affect us as investors? So what we're going to do is to go back to look at the 3 Singapore depository receipts. Effectively, these are Thai companies that you can now trade on the Singapore exchange, offering you exposure to these Thai blue chip companies. So the last time when we discussed, we gave a deep dive into 3 of these names. We have got Airports of Thailand, we have got CPO, as well as PTTEP. We'll look at each of them in a bit more detail to understand what are some of their recent developments. So if I start with Airports of Thailand, that is on slide number 13. Just as a quick recap, the stock code here is TATD. We can do a quick run through as to how you can access that through the Moomoo app later. But if you were to look at slide number 14 on the next slide, If you're not familiar with airports of Thailand, or if you need a very quick recap, effectively, airports of Thailand run 6 key airports in Thailand, and together they will account for over 80% of Thailand's air traffic. So effectively, you have got the Suvarnabhumi Airport in Bangkok, the Dong Mueang International Airport in Bangkok, and these are major airports where it is able to generate its revenue and profit from. Okay, so first and foremost, we'll look at how has the number of tourist arrivals in Thailand actually trended over the first half of this year, which is something that I show on slide number 15. So earlier, when we were looking at this slide, we were saying that with the reopening of Thailand, this is going to be a very big driver of the Thai economy. And indeed, if we look at the first half of this year, we have seen close to 13 million tourist arrivals into Thailand. And this has already exceeded the total number of tourist arrivals in the whole of last year. Okay. And if you were to look at the projection around how many tourist arrivals are expected in Thailand this year, it is expected to be about 25 million. So with the first half already at 13 million, I think that gives us some confidence that we'll be able to see the total number of tourist arrivals being close to 25 million in Thailand this year. Okay, so if I to jump to the next slide, I happened to be in Bangkok last week. So I did some channel checks for everyone who is with us on the webinar today. What we see at the Suvarnabhumi Airport is that the crowds are back. Whether you're at the immigration, whether you're at the duty-free shops, it is good to see that there are a lot of tourists that are going back to Thailand once again, and that is actually helping to boost the Thai economy. So if you are actually one of those that was in Bangkok or other parts of Thailand over the past few months, do share your comments with us as well. Apart from asking questions, let us know what your experience was. Is it as crowded as what you see in the pictures here? Because really what we have seen in terms of the numbers and from my own personal experience is that the Thai tourist arrivals are definitely rebounding very strongly. Okay, so if I were to jump to slide number 17, in terms of how has that actually reflected in terms of AOT's numbers, the company has got a September year end, which is why if I were to look at the 9-month numbers on slide number 17, this is effectively for the 9 months ending June 2023. So very updated numbers just for everyone who is on the webinar with us today. What you see here is that the number of tourist arrivals has actually more than doubled in the 9 months of fiscal year 2023. So the rebound in tourist arrivals, the rebound in tourism is definitely being reflected in AOT's numbers as well. If I were to jump to the next slide on slide number 18, we have seen the very strong growth in tourist arrivals over the past 12 months. But if we were to look at FY 2023 numbers, which is shown in the pink line, after the very strong recovery, we have seen that it's effectively tapered off. So yes, it is much higher compared to where we were in FY 2022, which is shown in the green line. But if we were to compare on a month-on-month basis, then we are no longer saying that the June numbers are significantly higher than the May numbers. So we are awaiting the further catalyst that will drive a further recovery in the Thai tourist arrival numbers. Okay, so in terms of how has that translated to AOT's revenues and profit, that's on slide number 19. If you recall, what we shared the last time was that AOT derives a big part of its revenue from the departure passenger service charges, effectively for the passengers who are departing from the airports. There's a fee that is levied, and that is something that AOT is able to earn a revenue from. So across the board, across the different revenue lines, whether is it the departures passenger service charges, whether is it the revenue is able to earn from renting out the duty-free stores, we have seen a very strong recovery in the 9 months of FY 2023. So that has actually translated to revenue growth that has effectively doubled over this period of time. Okay, so if I were to go to slide number 20, what you see here is that if I were to look at the first half of the year, the revenue grew strongly compared to the first half of the last fiscal year. The revenue continued to grow in the third quarter of fiscal year 2023. And likewise, if I were to look at the profit in the most recent quarter, that's effectively exceeded the profit that it was able to make in the whole of the first half of the entire fiscal year 2023. So the improvement in air traffic is definitely driving an improvement in profitability for airports of Thailand. In terms of how has that translated to the share price, that is on slide number 21. What we've seen is that the share price has traded within a fairly tight range over the course of 2023. That is a reflection of the fact that, yes, the numbers are recovering, but we are not seeing a further improvement in terms of the tourist arrival numbers. But the good news is that if we were to look at the share price of the Thai SDR, that is on slide number 22, then what we saw is that after the election of the Thai PM, we saw a bounce in the share price of the Airports of Thailand Thai SDR, such that it was actually a post-listing high, reaching close to $2.90 at one point in time, before closing at about $2.82 at the end of August this year. Okay, so for those who have been following this closely, we can look at the share price of Airports of Thailand, and you have seen that the share price has actually done well after the election of the Thai PM, because on expectations that there can be more that is going to be done, that's going to be boosting the Thai tourist arrival numbers and bring it to new highs. Okay, so in a nutshell, that is a recap of what has happened to Airports of Thailand, which is the name for investors who are looking to get exposure towards the improvement in the Thai tourism sector. Okay, next we have got CPO, that's on slide number 23. As a quick recap, it operates the 7-Eleven convenience stores in Thailand and is effectively leveraged towards the Thai consumer sector. Okay, on slide number 24, the next slide, what we will see here is that it generates its revenue from different retail segments. Convenience stores will be the largest part at about 41% of revenue. But apart from that, grocery stores as well, through the retail as well as wholesale stores, which is the equivalent of your NTUC FairPrice or your Sheng Siong stores in the Singapore market. So what we see here is that CPO has got a wide exposure to different retail formats in the Thai market, and that has really helped to allow the company to be a beneficiary of increasing consumer spending. Okay. If I were to go to slide number 26, which shows the performance of the company over the most recent quarter, what we see here is that it has also seen a very significant improvement in its revenue as well as profit. So revenue in the most recent quarter up 8.5% compared to the previous year, profit up close to 50%. To about 4.5 billion Thai baht. So that is also something that has benefited from the improvement in consumer spending. Okay. On slide number 27, what we see here is that one of the key drivers of CPO's strong performance is its ability to open up new stores. And the good news here is that in the first half of this year, it managed to open up another 377 new stores. And that will put it on track to being able to open at least 700 stores in Thailand this year. Okay, so in terms of the indicator around new store opening, performing very well, which also explains why the company has been able to generate a higher revenue and profit. The other good news for investors, that is what we show on slide number 28. Earlier, when we had this webinar in June, we only had the first quarter numbers. And what we saw back then was that the average daily revenue per store was still below the pre-COVID levels. So 78,000 per store, below what it was prior to COVID in 2019, which was 83,000 Thai baht. So the good news is that fast forward to today, we have got the most recent second quarter numbers. So what we see here is that it has recovered to 84,000 baht per store, and that is back to where it was prior to COVID. And so what we have expected previously, which is the continued recovery in the Thai consumer spending, has actually played out in the second quarter of this year. So if I were to look at slide number 29, which is the next slide, what we see here is that CPO has been able to report an improvement in revenue. If we look at the second quarter revenue, it was higher than what it was in the second quarter of last year, as well as an improvement from the first quarter of this year. Okay, so this is another positive indicator for CPO. And in terms of its profit on the next slide, on slide number 30, we saw earlier that it has been able to generate higher profit compared to the previous year. But if we were to compare it to the first quarter of this year, CPO's net profit has shown a further improvement because of the improvement in the number of stores that it has, as well as the more revenue that it's able to earn from each of the stores that it operates. Okay, so in terms of how has that translated to the share price, once again, we saw a bounce in the share price after the election of the Thai Prime Minister, because of the expectation that a lot of the measures will help to boost incomes, will help to boost consumer spending, and that CPO will be one of the beneficiaries from this higher consumer spending. Likewise, if you look at the price performance of the SDR listed in Singapore, that is on slide number 32. It also saw a very big bounce after the appointment of the Thai PM on 22nd of August, such that it went out from about $2.25 per share to $2.53 per share as of 31st of August. Okay, so another name that has been a beneficiary of the higher consumer spending. And last but not least, we have got PTTEP. That is on slide number 33. As a quick recap, this is effectively an oil and gas company involved in the exploration and production of oil and gas within Southeast Asia. Okay, so as a quick recap, for those who might have forgotten what PTTEP actually does, two key products: gas, which is your LNG or other forms of gas that can be used as a fossil fuel. And then you've got liquid, which is effectively crude oil. Okay, this oil and gas is then sold to Thailand, other parts of Southeast Asia, as well as the rest of the world. Okay, so what we see is that PTTEP's revenue is very much driven by oil prices. And if you look at the next slide, on slide number 35, oil prices actually fell in the second quarter of 2023 with the concerns about a global recession. But with the improvement in terms of the outlook for the global economy, as well as very tight oil supply, what we have seen is that oil prices have recovered very strongly since, and you've been following this very closely in the past week because of the extension of the price cuts, of the production cuts by some of the OPEC countries. We saw a further bounce in the oil price, such that crude oil is now above $90 per barrel. Okay, so how has that translated to PTTEP's revenue and profit? If you look at the next slide, on slide number 36, the good news is that it has been able to reduce its unit costs further. Earlier, we saw that its unit cost averaged about $28 per barrel of energy, but in the first half of this year, it managed to bring its production costs lower to about $26 per barrel of energy. But the bad news is that if I were to look at the average selling price, with the lower oil price in the first half of this year compared to 2022, then what we saw is that the average selling price came down to about $48 per barrel from more than $50 per barrel in 2022. Okay. In terms of how has that translated into PTTEP's profit and earnings, effectively with the lower average selling price, the profit for PTTEP came down. But what the company has been able to do is to actually maintain its dividend payout. Okay, so that is what I show on slide number 37. What we saw in the first half of this year is that even though its profit came down, it actually maintained its dividend at 4.25 Thai baht per share, which is similar to what it was in 2022. And with that, it actually offers investors a fairly attractive dividend yield. Okay. And so I think that is something that investors have constantly kept a lookout for, which is reflected in the share price as well on slide number 38. Effectively, the share price came down at the early part of this year because of the fall in oil prices. But with the dividend that PTTEP is able to pay out, with the improvement in oil prices that we have seen since then, PTTEP share price has also rebounded as well. Okay, so if we were to look at the SDR that is on the next slide, then what we see here is that when it listed back in May, it was at about $5.50 per share. If I were to look at the price today, it's gone up to above $6 with the improvement in oil prices that we have seen over this period of time. So for investors who are looking at different companies that benefit from higher oil prices, then PTTEP is definitely something that you can add to your watch list. Okay, so that is a quick recap around the 3 Thai SDRs. We have shared some of the recent developments, but I thought it is also important to highlight some of the risks that we see for this Thai blue chip names going forward, as well as for the Thai market in general. So that is what I show next in terms of the key risks. While the Thai government has been formed, there could still be potential for further political roadblocks because they will need to have the government coming together to agree to pass the different policies that have been proposed. Next, we have seen that there is still a lot of economic uncertainty. That is something that we keep a very close lookout for as to whether the US Federal Reserve will continue to keep interest rates high. And if that were to happen, we might see the US dollar continue to strengthen against the Thai baht. Okay, so in a nutshell, we have seen how the Thai economy has fared over the last few months. We have looked at some of the different Thai blue chip companies that are exposed to the tourism sector, to the consumer sector, as well as to the oil and gas sector. And your question will probably be, how do we get exposure to this Thai blue chip names? In case you missed our webinar earlier, I'll just do a very quick recap as to what are Singapore depository receipts. That is effectively on slide number 42. I earlier shared about these 3 Thai blue chip names, CPO, AOT, as well as PTTEP. You can now trade them easily through the Singapore exchange, just like how you're buying a Singapore REIT or the stock of a Singapore bank. Okay, the 3 stock codes that you need to know, TCPD for CPO, TATD for AOT, and TPED for PTTEP. Okay, you might be wondering, what are Singapore depository receipts? Do I get voting rights? Do I get dividends? So effectively what this Singapore depository receipts are, which is what I show on the next slide, is that they are issued on a underlying, which is the non-voting depository receipt of shares that are listed on the Stock Exchange of Thailand. So as the holder of the Thai SDR, you have beneficial interest towards the underlying shares of the company that is listed in Thailand. And you can also convert your shares to the underlying non-voting depository receipts if you actually choose to be doing so. Okay, so that would mean that you will get all the beneficial interest, just like if you were holding on to the underlying shares that are listed in Thailand. Okay, One of the key benefits that this actually brings about, which is what I show on the next slide, is really the ability to access global markets at your fingertips. Okay, so in the same way that you're able to access Singapore stocks easily via the Momo app, you can also now access these Thai blue chip names through the Momo app as well. Okay, so there is now more convenience in terms of being able to access these names through your mobile app. There is cost simplification as well, because the same fees that you are actually incurring when trading the Singapore stocks, you will also be incurring the same fees when you're trading the Singapore depository receipts. Okay. Last but not least, in terms of your rights as a holder of the Singapore depository receipts, one thing to note is that you will not have any voting rights, but you will actually be eligible for dividends that are paid out by the underlying company. So earlier I shared that PTTEP pays out very good dividends. If that is something that interests you, it is important to note that you will be eligible for these dividends as well by holding on to the Singapore depository receipts. Okay, so in summary, what we see here is that ASEAN is expected to grow faster than the rest of the world. Thailand's economy is expected to benefit from the recovery in global travel. And with the appointment of the Thai Prime Minister, with the formation of the Thai government, it is expected to provide a further boost to the Thai economy, especially as some of these election promises are actually delivered in the Thai consumer as well as tourism sectors. What you can actually do is to look at some of these Thai SDRs that offer you exposure to Thai blue chip companies in a low cost as well as convenient way. Okay, so if that is something that you want to find out more about, do visit our website, beansproutsg, or you can also visit the SGX website, where you'll be able to find out more about the product features around the Singapore depository receipts. With that, I'll hand back to Olivia to see how we can have a better understanding towards the Thai SDRs.
Thank you, Gerald. Now, if you have your phone with you, you can follow through with the demo. And right now, I do want to just do a quick one so that you can apply what you learned from Gerald. Now, thank you, Gerald. We'll be back with you shortly. Okay, so everybody, if you have your phone with you, do follow through right now. This is your main page. And if you go to the watch list, it should look like this, right? But what is really easy is that you can actually check out the promotions for this particular Thai SDR right here. So once you click on that, you can see just the brief and also the examples right here. It's basically a summary of what Gerald touched on just now, but also with further detail as you scroll to the bottom. Now you've got all the details right here, so definitely check it out for yourselves. And really, the teams have put together the comprehensive list for you, and also other links and details so that you can check out and cross-reference. Now, if you're wondering about the promotion, all the details are here as well, but of course you'll have to do all the particular criterias, but also the eligibility of each person for this campaign. Okay, so you can find out more information right here. Once again, you just go to profile under promotions. Okay, let's say you'd like to delve deeper into one particular promotion for a particular profile. And of course, I will just use the example of the airports of Thailand. You can just click on it right here, and you have all the details listed. So as always, all the features are right here for you to customize and to also align to your own personal strategy, depending on what you value and what you need to know as a key data before you make a decision. Okay, so you can actually just play around with the different features, see what is available, and also the overview and summary of each profile that you like to track. Okay. Now, for example, for this particular one, I actually harded it on the top. Now, how do you do this? You just go to the top right-hand corner right here to keep track of it. So it's very simple. And if you go back to your main page, you can actually see it right here under your watch list. Okay, so it's just that cute little heart on the right hand side at the top corner, and you can keep track of all your stocks right here. But I know a lot of the users tuning in right now, you also have some questions about the replay of this particular show. So very simple. You just go to Discover, and you can see we're live right now, right? So you just click on that, and you can see our show right here. But if you do want to watch the replay, you can just go to Live, and you can go to the same tab to see the actual replay. Okay. So this is just really important for people that perhaps you tune in midway or at the beginning, you missed out some parts. And if you want to go back to part 1 of the Thai SDR series that we have for live webinars, you can also find that in that particular tab right here under Live and Move. Okay. So that was hopefully very useful for you guys. But if you have more questions, feel free to drop in the question right here in the comments section, wherever you're tuning in from. And as always, our teams are always keeping track of that on what you want to know. Okay, thank you for following. Now let's invite Gerald back into the room, because I've picked out some questions for our giveaway, of course, but I do believe these questions will be useful for the audiences watching. Welcome back, Gerald.
Let's be back.
Welcome back. The first question I got from the audience is, would you consider the 3 Thai SDR listed on the SGX as growth or value stocks? And how do I compare the differences? And what sort of dividend do they have for the future?
Okay, so I think one of the key reasons why investors are looking at opportunities outside of Singapore might be that they actually present stronger growth opportunities. And I think that is the way I would think about this Thai blue chip names. Because based on what I shared earlier, whether is it the Thai consumer sector, the Thai tourism sector, what we see is that there are structural drivers to these sectors, even without the additional post-election boost actually coming through. And that is reflected in the revenue and profit that we shared in the slides earlier. If you look at Airports of Thailand, if you look at CPO, both of them reported higher revenue and profit in the most recent quarter. And that is a reflection of the increase in tourist arrivals as well as consumer spending over the past quarter. So I really think of them more as growth names, particularly for AOT as well as CPO. And each of them actually offer you exposure to different aspects of growth. So for Airports of Thailand, it is really around the growth in the Thai tourism sector. We have seen how that has recovered post-COVID. But structurally, if you think about there still being sustained demand for people wanting to visit Thailand, as the number of middle-class people in the region actually increases and are able to afford air travel actually increases with time, those will all be positive for the tourist arrivals into Thailand. So that is one aspect of growth that I will think about. The other one will be around higher consumer spending, because I think if you were to look at the Thai population in general, with time, incomes are going up. They will have more to be spending. They'll be spending on different consumer goods within Thailand. And on top of that, you've got the potential additional boost from what the new Thai government has actually promised. So both of them are going to drive a potentially higher level of consumer spending over the next few years. So I do see both AOT as well as CPO as having some potential growth drivers to them. For PTTEP, some investors can consider it as a value stock, namely because of the dividend that it actually pays out. Earlier, I shared that if I were to look at the dividend payout of PTTEP, it was consistent in the first half of this year. And that is despite the fall in oil prices that we have seen over this period of time. The key reason is still with the very low cost of production that PTTEP has, it is still able to make a profit even with the fall in oil prices, and that's allowed it to make a good dividend payout. So from the last time that I checked on the Momo app, PTTEP actually offers a dividend yield of close to 6%. So that might be something that would interest certain investors, particularly those that are looking at having some form of income while at the same time waiting for a potential recovery in oil prices.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for that. And thank you for the first question that we picked out. Now, to those who have asked your question, you'll get points. But if your question gets picked, you'll have more points rewarded from our teams in-app, okay? Next question, what kind of due diligence should investors conduct before considering Thai SDRs as part of their investment portfolio, and any specific factors unique to the Thai SDRs that they should be aware of in the decision-making process? Thank you for this question. It's a great comprehensive question. What do you think, Gerald?
So I'm very glad to hear that the participants today are very keen to perform further due diligence because, as we always say, do your own research. And I think that is really something that we want to encourage amongst all the participants here today. So thanks so much for the question. I think in terms of the due diligence, we can go through the same framework as what I shared earlier. So if you notice how I started was really looking at what are some of the key drivers of the company, whether is it driven by tourist arrivals, whether is it driven by convenience stores, and be able to see how each of these drivers are actually developing. So using CPO as an example, we saw that convenience stores is key revenue driver. It was able to open up more stores in the first half of this year. Each of the stores actually generated a higher revenue compared to what we saw even prior to COVID. So those are all positive signs, okay? So we can go through a checklist like this to understand how a company's fundamentals are actually tracking versus our expectations. So that is the due diligence relating to the company. Next, we can do our due diligence relating to the company's valuation. So whether the company's valuation is something that we feel comfortable putting our money into based on what the current share price is trading at. I believe there are different indicators that are available on the Momo app that allows us to be tracking some of these indicators. So while it can be a great company, but if the valuation is something that has really gone up very sharply, then that might be something that we might think about shying away from. But the good news is that if let's look at the price performance of the Thai market, because of the concerns around the political situation, around the economic uncertainty, it is not trading at too lofty valuations as yet. And in fact, it is one of the few markets globally that has actually come down in the first 8 months of this year. Last but not least, we need to understand the product, and that is really relating to the Singapore Depository Receipt. The good news here is that SDRs are available for all investors. It is not a special investment product where you need to go through special checks to be able to invest in, but we should still be aware of some of the product characteristics, whether or not we are entitled to vote, whether or not we are entitled to dividends. Hopefully that is something that we've been able to share during today's webinar. But if you want to find out further details, once again, you can go to the HX website, go to the Beansprout website, go to the information section that Olivia shared earlier, and find out for yourself whether this is a product you're comfortable investing in.
Great. Thank you for that. And also for the question. Now, the third question that I've picked out is about risk. Okay, so we covered previously about the potential political currency risks related to the Thai market, but what kind of risks should they be also aware of if they invest in these Thai companies? And this could also mean not just within Asia, but also globally.
So I think as investors who are very familiar investing in the Singapore market, we are very used to stability. We are very used to there being some degree of certainty on the market. And I think one thing that we definitely need to realize is that once we go into a market like Thailand, it is considered an emerging market, and there are risks relating to investing in emerging markets. So I shared earlier the kind of political landscape can actually affect how the economy as well as the stocks perform. Outside of political developments, we can also look at some of the market-related risks. Because I think just going back to the performance of the Thai market in the first 8 months of this year, you have seen that the kind of rewards that you get from investing in the US market will have significantly outweighed the kind of returns that you are getting from investing in the Thai market. Will that reverse? I think that really depends on how the political and economic landscape actually pans out for the next few months. But I think just looking at the past performance so far this year, it reflects the kind of risk that a certain investor needs to be taking when investing in a developing market like Thailand. So to be able to keep ourselves on top of some of this risk, you need to be informed around the developments in the Thai economy. You need to keep yourself updated around what is happening to Thai politics, whether they are able to implement some of these policies that they actually want to roll out to be able to boost Thai tourism as well as the Thai consumer sector. I touched upon the risk relating to currency earlier. Once again, another risk that as investors in Singapore, we may not actually think about that often. But if you had actually traveled out to some other countries in Asia this year, you probably have realized that the Singapore dollar is very strong, especially if you have been to Japan, say, over the last 6 months. Okay, so what we need to be aware of is that once we start investing outside of Singapore, even if it is relating to Singapore depository receipts that are listed in Singapore, we need to be aware of the currency risk because the underlying company is in Thailand. It generates the bulk of their revenue and profit in Thailand and in Thai baht, and the underlying SDR trades in Thai baht, which means that even if the share price in Thai baht were to remain the same, if there's a further weakening in the Thai baht versus the Singapore dollar, that may actually translate to a lower trading price in Singapore dollar. So hopefully those are some of the risks that I have shared and that you will take note of when thinking about investing in some of these Thai SDRs.
Thank you for that. Next question is about, just sharing your advice for new investors in this space. Someone would like to know, when I do take that first step to do include these Thai companies in my portfolio, how can I start? Like, should I start small, or what is the percentage or proportion is a safe number, or at least relatively safe start to begin with?
Okay, so this is not financial advice, but I think if I were to think about investing in a new market or a new product, it is always good to be starting small. I think that is something that even for investors who are starting on a regular savings plan, who are starting to even invest in individual stocks, it is always good to start small because then you'll be able to experience for yourself how is it actually like investing in some of these names. You'll be able to learn a great deal from it as well and be able to reinforce what we have shared in today's session. So as an example, maybe from today's session, you would actually have taken away the need to be able to look at the fluctuations in the Thai baht versus the Singapore dollar. If you start small and you can actually navigate your way around to then find out, okay, how do I actually track how the Thai baht is actually performing? What happens when the Thai baht weakens against the Sing dollar? Is it actually reflected in the share price of the Thai SDR as well? I think those are important learnings that you'll be able to develop for yourself. And with the increase in experience, increase in confidence, then decide whether there's something that you feel comfortable putting a larger part of your portfolio towards. But overall, I think my investment philosophy is just to make sure that you don't lose sleep over your investing. We all want to be better investors. We all want to be growing our wealth, but we want to be very strong mentally and be able to live a good life as well. So I think it is important that you can test out the different amounts that you're comfortable investing in, especially for a product that you may not be very familiar with for a start. See whether that is causing you to lose sleep at night. And if it does, maybe you want to be reconsidering your approach and then take further steps from there.
I think that was great advice. I mean, of course, we do not give recommendations, of course, but I think as that first step coming from an expert like yourself, right? That was good advice for that new investor within this space. So thank you for outlining that and also offering something more practical for our investors watching. Now, I've picked the top questions already from our audience, so thank you for all your questions, and our teams will be in touch for the points giveaway. And if you didn't get a chance this time, there's always next time, okay? So Gerald, just to end off today's topic of why invest in Thailand's economy and market, what is that final takeaway for our live audience?
Well, actually, before I end off, I have a question. Am I eligible for any points for answering all these questions?
We'll give you as many points as you want.
Okay, but thanks so much for everyone's participation today. It was a very enjoyable session. I think it's always good to have the kind of participation from everyone so that we are able to take some of your questions and understand how we can better help you in your investing journey. I think why we are talking about Thailand today is because across the entire region, it is one of the markets where we have seen more developments towards its political scene, towards its economy over the last few months. Apart from some of what you've already read up around the US market, around the Chinese market, around what is happening in Singapore, I think it is also good for us to be informed investors, being able to make sense around what you read in the newspapers, around the new Thai Prime Minister, around the formation of the government, and how does that actually translate towards the economy and our investment portfolio. So hopefully with today's sharing, we've been able to keep you updated around what is happening in the Thai economy. We've been able to provide an update on the 3 Thai SDRs that we actually shared a few weeks ago and how they have actually evolved and can potentially benefit with the new policies that the Thai government can potentially roll out, and also share a bit more about what this Singapore depository receipts are so that you can think about how they can be used towards your investment portfolio. So thanks so much for everyone for joining us today. Do continue to keep your comments and questions coming in, and then we can see how we can plan the next session to be able to answer some of these questions that you might have.
And of course, follow Gerald and Beansprout on the in-app communities, right, Gerald? You've
yes.
got a very active...
I think Olivia shared how you can access the video if you want to be rewatching this. Yes. But if you want to be constantly kept updated around what is happening in the markets, make a more informed investment decision, do follow Beansprout on Momo app, where we'll be continuing to share our thoughts on the market, what we see in terms of developments, and continue to come to live webinars like this to be able to share our insights with everyone here.
Excellent. We'll see you for the next show, Gerald. Once again, thank you so much. Joining us today was CEO and founder of Beansprout, Gerald Wong, everyone. See you next time, Gerald. to the audience, as Gerald mentioned as well, if you have any more questions, if you have any more comments, remember that you can still follow these accounts right here and watch the replay and leave your comments in the replay section of the comments wherever you're tuning in from, so that we can keep track of the keywords and also the content that you'd like to see next. So it's really important for us to always know what you want so that we can continuously craft and create content just for you. So scan the QR code right here. We've got 2 QR codes for you. So the left one is more for the in-app community, so you can stay in the know of all the latest live shows coming up. But on the right, you'll definitely want to scan this for our social media pages so that you can stay and keep track of all the new content that's coming out just for you. Okay, so definitely scan it right now. And of course, if you'd like to check out what's new for you from today's show related to the Thai SDR listed on the Singapore Exchange, I shared it before in the demo, so you can watch the replay and rewatch that section if you need to. But for here, scan the QR code if you want to go directly into the promo page just for you. As always, thank you for your continuous support and participation. Today was great. We loved your questions so that we can keep guiding you to invest smarter. It was a pleasure having you with us. It's almost the weekend, everyone. Once again, you're with me, Olivia Higgins.